Money. Okay. It's obviously a little more nuanced than that, and I want to talk about it. But let's be real. It would be disingenuous for me to pose a question like, why does the remake exist? Without immediately saying, easy cash money. That's the obvious. Let's move on from it. Because the thing is, even if it's easy money, games still cost money and resources to make, which means someone at Konami had to make a decision to either set aside these resources or contract someone, which also costs money, to make it. So why? Were there reasons beyond this will print money? Let's talk about it. I will say at the top, I don't think this remake was necessary, unlike the Resident Evil ones. I also hesitate to call it a remake because it's not really. We have the fine line between a remake and a remaster here. It technically is a remake because it's rebuilt in Unreal Engine 5, and the controls can be different, all that good stuff. But let's face it, it's the same game with a new coat of paint at a $70 price point, unless you bought it on turbo sale like I did. It feels more like the Suikoden remaster to me than the RE4 remake. If that makes sense? Whatever, let's roll. But first, let's lay out some very quick background stuff. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater was released in 2004. While it's technically the fifth entry into Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear series, it's the first one chronologically. The game itself takes place in the 1960s, a good 20 to 30 years before the subsequent games. This makes it a great entry point for people who are new to the franchise. For many, many reasons, a lot of people cite this game as their favorite Metal Gear Solid game, myself included. I love how cinematic it was without bordering on me sitting and watching a movie while holding a controller. The gameplay was refined further from previous games as well, and the story itself is solid without getting too convoluted. It was neat, alright? And the acting, man, the acting was so good. It's a little overdramatic and hammy at times, but that's Metal Gear's style. I still get the chills hearing the boss talk sometimes. There's a reason this game is considered one of the greatest games of all time. Kojima went on to release 4 more games in the Metal Gear series before Konami happened. Look, I don't need to recap this. The short is, there was a very, very messy breakup between Konami and Kojima. This was for many reasons, and if I went into it in depth, this would not be the short video I wanted to make. Suffice it to say, it was bad, and a lot of gamers had a ton of reasons to not be pleased with Konami. Not that they cared, of course, since they were apparently pivoting away from the games they'd been making. According to a Japanese article that Polygon reposted, President of Konami Digital Entertainment Hideyuki Hayakawa stated in 2015 that gaming has spread to a number of platforms, but at the end of the day, the platform that is always closest to us is mobile. Mobile is where the future of gaming lies. Yeah, that aged well. They did, however, think that just using the Metal Gear name would print money for them, and release Metal Gear Survive, which is like Metal Gear with zombies. It was bad. It was so bad that, as per GameSpot, Konami's earning reports in 2018 didn't mention Survive's total sales at all. It's generally accepted that it did not sell well. And after that, Konami went kind of quiet on the games front. At least until 2021. In 2021, Andy Robinson with the Video Game Chronicle reported that Konami was going to release new installments and remakes in their big game series like Silent Hill and Metal Gear. This would prove to be true, with a number of projects getting announced and released in subsequent years, such as the Silent Hill 2 remake, the Suikoden 1 and 2 remasters, and Silent Hill F. And in 2023, they announced a remake for Snake Eater. Okay, that's the background out of the way. Let's dive in and speculate on why this exists. And by speculate, I mean look at people's quotes and whatnot and figure it out. Besides money. In an IGN interview, a Konami spokesperson stated that they went with the third game because it's actually a pretty good starting point for the franchise. In that same interview, they confirmed that they weren't going to update or alter the story in the remake. Reading between the lines, this meant that while Kojima wasn't exactly involved in this, his vision would be upheld to a certain extent. They also said fan demand for it was high, and they're answering it, and that's why there's a remake. That's all well and good, but it doesn't answer the why. And look, I've stated multiple times the big reason why. Money. This game is guaranteed to print money. You make a Snake Eater remake that is incredibly faithful to the original, and yeah, people are gonna buy it. Updated controls, nicer graphics, but the same story you know and love? Sign me up, I'm in. But I also feel like there's a number of other reasons this exists. So let's go over them. A big one is the graphics update. Even though we have the HD version, those were originally made for the PS3 and Xbox 360 era, and then ported to the PS4. After a point, they do start to show their age. I had a number of people in the comments of my Resident Evil 4 video noting that, yeah, the original was old, and they wouldn't have had any interest in it without a remake, with graphics being a factor. The biggest thing about a good remaster, in my opinion, is that a remaster makes a game look like you remember it. The same mostly holds true for a remake, though you would hope that they would do more with a remake. But when I'm playing Delta, I get the same feeling that I got playing 3 for the first time. It's a dang good glow up. I commented when I was streaming it that Ava's hair just looks so much better. It's a small detail, but her hair's kind of important, guys, between the Tatiana and the... Okay, anyway. Another one is accessibility. Look, the controls and the camera for the original are dated. They're dated. You can still play it, but it's awkward, especially with how you shift views when shooting and all that, which was interesting given what happens to Snake at the end of the second act. And so when you're aiming, it's pretty obvious, and you don't notice that in the new version. But I'll be honest, the aiming in the third act in the original for me was not great. I wasn't a fan of it, and it almost made me just not come back to the game. So while I understand artistically, for people like me, it was nice to have the option to not have to do that, you know? But anyway, this was a time when they were sort of still figuring things out. Resident Evil 4 wouldn't be out until 2005 after all. Yeah, it's easier, but is that such a bad thing? Games have evolved over the past 2 decades, and I feel like we've come to realize more and more that games are more fun when they can be shared amongst others. That doesn't water it down for old players either who long for the original. You can still select the old gameplay style. Heck, you can't get the Platinum Trophy without earning the Foxhound title, which means playing the game on Extreme and completing it super quickly without getting murked a bunch or killing anyone. It's wild. So, it's not suddenly, oh, here's an easy completion, guys. You gotta get good if you want it. By making it more accessible, they make the story more available to a wider range of players. And this story is, in my opinion, more timely than ever these days. Yes, you could just watch someone play it, but stories like this hit different when you're in the driver's seat. And who knows, those casual players could come to want to perfect it, growing as gamers in the process. I personally did very easy on my first playthrough, but implemented a caveat where I could not kill anyone. It was a little challenging in parts because of this, which was fun. Another reason why is, well, to get some of the goodwill they lost over the past decade back. Remaking Snake Eater this faithfully is a calculated statement. It's a lot of people's favorites, and it's Kojima at his best, in my opinion. By not touching Kojima's work at all, to the point where I really had to hunt to figure out who directed the remake, since they made damn sure to put Kojima's name front and center. It is, in a way, like an olive branch. It's acknowledging the good work he did and not really messing with it. Konami stated that the people who'd worked on past Metal Gear titles were involved in making the game, but none of the big players really were. And yet, it's so faithful to the original. Almost too faithful for many, in fact. In 1998, Gus Van Sant released a remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, and it was billed as being a shot-for-shot remake. For many, myself included, this whole thing seemed unnecessary. Why, when the original was right there? In many ways, this feels the same, and people are valid for questioning why this is a thing. But okay, go with me here. Psycho is an old movie. It was an old movie even in the 90s. A lot of young cinephiles would not have been interested in the original without the conversation being brought up by the remake. That remake was really unnecessary. Still got people interested in the original movie, which furthered Hitchcock's legacy and brought one of the seminal horror films more front and center in the minds of a new generation. And look, film is a different medium than games, but you get what I'm getting at. Anyway, we're not just talking about story. But if we were, then yeah. Yeah, this is just Psycho 1998 all over again, but they kept the same cast and literally reused the same dialogue, so, you know. We don't have Kiefer Sutherlanding. That's cool. I mean, it was clear that David Hayter was involved because they put out a series of videos, so dude's getting paid. Awesome. And hey, we finally found out after 20 years that Jodie Benson, aka Ariel, is the voice of Ava. Yeah! With all that said, it doesn't need to exist. It's literally the exact same game with a new coat of paint and some tweaks to the controls. But man, that's a darn good coat of paint right there. I cannot even begin to describe how good it feels to play this game. I haven't felt like replaying a game for collectibles and such in a long time. Was this remake necessary? Absolutely not. And that's why I didn't pose that question at the start of the video. We all knew it wasn't. The HD collection has been re-released for the current generation of consoles and is perfectly playable. But I think this was a good first step. A step in the right direction. By doing this, Konami made it clear that, yeah, they know why people love these games. And if by doing this, they introduce the games to a new generation of players who maybe wouldn't have discovered it otherwise, I'm okay with that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to shoot more frogs and duckies. Thank you guys so much for watching. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, hi! My name is Jury, and I like to yap about all sorts of things here and there. I stream games pretty regularly right here on my channel, and I talk a lot about stuff like this while playing. If you like this video, please drop a like and a comment. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.